Do it, yeah.
Now talk. Okay.
All right, so we're gonna do a quick mic check with everybody that's watching. So hopefully, if you guys can hear me now, it looked good at least, David. All right, so I know we've got a handful of guys watching. Let me know if you guys can hear me now. You can. Yeah. Give us the thumbs up, thumbs down. Oh, it's on. Desmond Anderson from Standard Directional up in Calgary, who's actually going to be in town this week. So if you're looking at purchasing a new pulsar, he's got a great new design out there. So you get plugs when you help out the show. All right, guys. So once again, this is LinkedIn Live Beta. You are getting to see me in my raw format of going through trial and error, hitting road bumps and hitting failures. We're trying our best to be able to bring you the absolute best content in the industry that nobody else can do, because I'm the only guy in the oil and gas business that can do LinkedIn Live. So we're doing our best. We're going to skip through the intro that I already went through. No big deal. This week was supposed to be all about best-selling authors that are outside of the oil and gas industry, who are bringing potentially new ideas and new ways of creative thinking for either doing your marketing and sales. Keenan was supposed to be the guy on Wednesday. He had to reschedule again. But we're going to have him next Friday, directly after Robert Trainer, who is the CEO of Gyrodata. So today we have a best-selling author. He's written books called Town Incorporated and Brandscaping. He told me just before we started filming, he finished another book called Loyalty Loop, or about Loyalty Loop. I can't remember if that was the title or not, but that's what it's going to be about. We'll talk about that a little bit today in the show. He's a keynote speaker. He's doing over 50 engagements a year, talking to everybody from plumbers to physicians, from B2C to B2B. All right, so some of you might ask, why would I have this guy come on the show today? So I should tell you about my moment of inspiration, which I know this is a kind of a key point he'll talk about a little bit later, but I was scrolling through LinkedIn one day, and up pops a video about automated messaging, like automated messages. Like as soon as you connect with somebody on LinkedIn, then boom, there's a message saying, hey, if you need financing or money within 24 to 48 hours, I'm the guy that you should talk to. Thanks, Steve. Or, hey, I'm sorry to bother you, but I can solve all your problems. And we're the best company out there to do it. So he had, I think it's what's called the unsolicited series. And so he was, his unsolicited advice to those people who were unsoliciting their messages, which was absolute great creative content, automatically set me on a journey that I never expected, using a lot of his terminology now, to consume pretty much all of his content. I haven't finished the second book yet, but I'm going through it. The first one, Brandscaping, it's an absolutely great book. Anyways, the guy on today's show is Andrew Davis. Andrew, thank you for joining the show, sir. I appreciate it so much.
Hey man, thanks for having me. This is so much fun watching LinkedIn Live. I applied for LinkedIn Live and didn't get it, so this is awesome to be on your show, trying it out for the first time. You get to deal with all the bugs, so thanks for having me. This is great.
Yes, so on that, if anybody else hasn't taken the chance yet, apply for LinkedIn Live. You can get it. I've got a little bit of a background in live video and stuff, but I also have the superpower that is my mom. A lot of you guys got to meet her at the last IEDD event. 30 years of videography. Trust me, we put her resume in there alongside mine when we applied for this.
I bet.
So if you haven't been picked yet, it's probably because you don't have my mom on your team.
Yes,
so,
exactly right. Man, we can't all be so lucky. That's awesome, man.
I will say this: I'm very fortunate in this. Had I just gone into video straight out of college, or while I was in college, my career would probably be a lot further along than it is. But I kind of waited till I started my own business to be able to start really utilizing this. Granted, even though I was hosting my own show when I was in second grade. I'm looking at my mom.
Wow, that's cool.
Second or third grade, I had my own kids program show. So this is not my first rodeo.
You were meant for this, man. Yeah. You were meant for this.
Yes. All right. So one thing, all the viewers out there, let us know where you guys are watching from. Let us know what company you're working for. Be sure to hit the little buttons. It doesn't really mean anything to me that you're hitting the buttons other than the fact that I know that somebody's watching. And then when you guys comment, it also helps us know that audio and everything else is working well. So those are great key performance indicators for me that things are going well. So feel free to just, every once in a while, just click your mouse button. It's not that much work.
Bring your mic closer to you.
Oh, I need to move my mic closer to me. So there we go. All right, so we've already got Ahmed, Samir, Desmond Anderson, Samir, and Jenny Wilson all watching.
Hey, Jenny.
Eric Allen from Dynaqual Test Labs. Thanks, Eric. Those guys are always great with engaging with some of the content I put out there on social media. So, look, we've done a lot of talking so far. Let me get into asking some questions to the man of the hour, Andrew Davis. Andrew, tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, what is your what gets you excited right now on a daily basis to get out of bed and get going each day?
Oh man, for me, it's kind of helping people change the way they think about marketing and sales in a modern age. I think one of the biggest challenges any marketer has is trying to figure out this evolving universe. And so for me, I wake up every morning thinking, how can I make it easier for marketers to better understand how people buy, and as a result, better understand how we can target and acquire those customers and clients in a much more efficient manner, in a more meaningful way. And so every morning I get up, and like yesterday I got back from Las Vegas. I helped a bunch of 350 property managers really understand how do people lease a property, and it was really fun. It was great. So that's what keeps me going.
Excellent. Now I should also mention this, guys. Andrew's from Houston, Texas.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. I grew up in A-Leaf, so high five out there, Eric, in North Houston. I don't know where in North Houston you are, like maybe the Woodlands or something. I don't know.
That's a very broad statement.
Yeah, that's like saying you're in the Panhandle. Like, I don't know.
North Houston's like the size of some states. So
yes, that's like Rhode Island. Like it's a whole state.
So great to be able to have Andrew on, who's also from Houston, who understands a little bit about that kind of that Houston lifestyle. That is, one, it's a very large area, and that it's a very oil and gas centric area.
Oh yeah,
as well.
My dad was in the oil and gas industry. That's why we were in Houston. So he used to work.
What did he do?
He worked for Western Geophysical. He was a geophysicist, pinging the bottom of the ocean, to figure out where the oil and gas was.
Oh yeah, that ended up being purchased out by Schlumberger. So
that's right. Yeah, Schlumberger.
So white and black squiggly lines.
Yes, that's right. You got it.
See, that's something you should put on, because guys, we were talking about this before the show started. He's on a boat, and so maybe that's something you could start putting on the walls, or a bunch of old seismic plots.
So, yeah, wouldn't that be great? Yeah, I'm on a boat for the next 2 months, hanging out for the summer. I try not to travel too much in July and August, so it's nice to just kind of relax. But I get a lot of work done. It's quiet.
Excellent. So you talked about in your previous answer there, as far as the changing landscape that is marketing and sales now.
Yeah.
One of the things that I have noticed is that what works today doesn't work 6 months from now, or what worked 6 months ago now is completely dead and not working anymore. And so one of the really hot things is a lot of people make the comparison of LinkedIn and Facebook. The organic reach on Facebook a year, 2 years, 3 years ago was phenomenal. Mm-hmm. Now it's very, very difficult. They've kind of pulled the reins back on it. And now you're looking at LinkedIn, and LinkedIn's having great success as far as organic reach. How do you, as somebody who's essentially an expert in this category, be able to stay on top of those trends to where you can tell somebody, hey, this is a good idea, this is something you should be doing, without saying something that, like, before you went on stage for your keynote speech just became outdated?
Yeah, right. Like, I mean, look, like the big thing right now is TikTok. Like, are you on TikTok?
No, not
Yeah.
I'm just, we're still trying to get LinkedIn.
Well, see, I think that's actually really good. Look, here's what I try to do. I try to not focus on the technology or the channel as much as I try to focus first on the strategy, and because the channels and the tactics change constantly, just like you said. And for me, it's much better that people focus on killing it on one channel at a time with a strategy that will work anywhere. So instead of worrying about, whether Facebook is the big thing for the next 2 years, or LinkedIn is, or TikTok is going to be like, okay, whatever, that's great. But let's focus first on the strategy we've got, the audience we're targeting, and follow the audience. Where is the audience? And if we can kill it there, then we can actually make a big impact. I mean, for example, you're one of the only people in the oil and gas industry doing video content on a regular basis on LinkedIn, and you're killing it. Do you need to be on YouTube? Probably not, right? Do you need to have a Facebook Live session for the same thing? No, you don't. Do you need to be all over Instagram to make this work? No. If you can kill it on LinkedIn with a simple strategy that's designed to make an appointment with the audience and get people to tune in every single week, then you are setting the bar, setting the standard, and you're going to win more customers and clients than anybody else in the industry. So no matter what you do, no matter where you're based, if you take a simple approach, basically a 3-step approach on any channel to be successful. Number one, make an appointment with the audience. That's what you're doing. You do a great job. I have an appointment with my audience every single Wednesday. I send out another loyalty loop video. Perfect. Like, that's my appointment. Number two, deliver consistent format of content, right? So you're doing the same thing every time you do this live, right? It's like, I have a guest, we're going to talk, we're going to discuss a different topic. Perfect. Very simple format. If you're going to do a podcast, same thing. You just need to have a format, like an outline that you're going to follow every week, because that's what people fall in love with. And then the third thing, and this is what I kind of call the kind of X factor, but you need some talent and a hook. Like, you need talent in the sense that people build a relationship in today's online social-driven universe with a person first, not a brand. So if you're Slumberjay, well, you're massive, right? It's hard for me to build a relationship with a brand at that scale. It's almost impossible. But I can build a relationship with a person from that brand who becomes the face of the brand in a more meaningful way. And that's exactly what you're doing with Gibson Reports. I mean, yeah, I get it. Like, it's a very close connection. It's a smaller business than Slumberjay. It's a lot easier for you. But no matter your size, thinking about a talent and a hook, a little simple twist on a familiar theme, that's going to make it work. Like, you're basically doing Larry King Live for the oil and gas industry, right? Like, okay, perfect. That's a simple twist on a familiar theme, and it works. So that's how I look at it. Forget about the channel. Think about the strategy first.
So in that strategy, how would you recommend for somebody to be able to start mapping that journey out, to do the journey mapping, right? Because this is something that I've watched in some of your videos. Is you can hear a lot of people that are like sales and marketing people be able to talk about, like, here's the things you do, and then, like, they go through all the terminology, but what's really a good first step to being able to better understand how to be able to put a marketing strategy together? Because that's the thing that I see missing from our industry, is that people will just start doing marketing without a marketing strategy.
Yeah. So here's what you should do. The first thing you should do is ask the next client or customer that comes into your door or sets up a meeting or schedules a call with you. Just ask them one question. Ask them what inspired them to ... What inspired them to set up this call? What inspired them to go on the journey to find a specific kind of, pump? Like, just ask them that question, but it has to be what inspired you to. Because most of us ask we ask, like, hey, what can I help you with? Or, I noticed you were interested in X, Y, and Z. Like, how can I help with that? That stuff doesn't give you any insight into understanding how to find the next person that looks exactly like this person that is on the phone right now. And that's what you want. More of those people that are willing to take a call or take a meeting. That's your first step. And you will find that when you ask that question, they'll map out the journey for you. They'll say, oh, well, you know what? It's so funny you should ask that, because our pump broke down last week on a site that's like $1 billion site. Like, we can't have these kind of outages. We've been buying pumps from the same guy for 9 months. Like, that, this guy's great, but every time we buy a pump from him, it keeps breaking down. We need a new pump vendor. Okay, you learned everything you need to know about finding the next person that looks like them. Because what you've just identified is the first step in any good marketing strategy. What is your client or customer's moment of inspiration? And you mentioned it in the intro, David. Like, a moment of inspiration is just an instant in time that sends you on a journey you never expected. And in that little story, that person on the phone just told you exactly what happened. Their pump broke down, and they can't have this consistent breakdowns with the same vendor. They need a new vendor. That's genius, and that's a really clear way for you to understand one person's moment of inspiration. So that's the first step. Is this helping?
Yes, yeah. I like if I could just be sitting here not looking at you and taking notes, that's all I would be doing.
So start there. Start with moment of inspiration. Because with every moment of inspiration comes a trigger question, which is a question that pops into the mind of the consumer whenever that moment of inspiration happens. And when you understand the moment of inspiration, your job as a marketing person to put together a strategy is to go on the journey as if you're a prospect. So, like, you can ask that person on the phone or the client that just signed with you, hey, look, when you found out your pumps were dying constantly, you needed a new pump vendor, what was the first question that popped into your mind? And they'll say, oh, like, where can I find a new pump within 24 hours? Like, that's what I need. Okay, so you can go on to Google, because that's where everybody goes. It's like your prime brand in this instance. You type in, like, new something pump within 24 hours, like Midland, Texas, and you're going to see what that person would have seen. And you can map the journey that they went on to get to you. Now, the key is, this is called, so basically you've got a moment of inspiration that leads to a trigger question that immediately gives you a prime brand, and now you're on this journey I call active evaluation. You want to map all the things they see along the way to get to the point at which they made a call to you, right? And the goal is to make that journey more efficient or get them to commit to you sooner. And that's the start of a great strategy. You want to get people to a moment of commitment. You don't need to sell them all the way online, especially in the B2B world. What you just want to get them to do is trade some data, just a little bit of data, your email address, your first name, a phone number, maybe, for some information or insight that's going to build a relationship over time with that customer or client. Too many of us come up with these marketing strategies that are genius branding and awareness strategies, so that people are supposed to think of us as their prime brand and just make a phone call. It doesn't work that way anymore. We have to be much more concerted about saying, look, if this person needs a resource within 24 hours, what can we give them right now to help them make their journey easier? But for us to get some information from them, to transact in a moment of commitment that allows us to build a loyalty loop, to build trust over time, because that's the key. Today, you've got to build trust faster, more efficiently than ever before, and you've got to keep your clients or prospects in a loyalty loop, a loop of little experiences that get them to say, you know what, I got to pick up the phone and call this guy. I got to talk to David. He knows how to solve my problem. I trust him already.
I'm the guy.
You're the guy. Well, you know, you're the guy.
Well, I love how, like, you put on there, and one of the things that I drew from what you were just saying was, if the guy picks up the phone, and especially with oil and gas, because as we all know, the rigs never sleep. The rigs keep going. Yep. One of the things that needs to be there, if I was to be able to, draw from what you said and then recommend to somebody else, hopefully the audience here, is that if that drilling engineer picks up the phone, he needs to be, or if he, let's say it happens in the middle of the night, he needs to be able to get all the information he needs there prior to picking up the phone to be able to make that commitment. And so, like, if that is the cycle that they go through, you need to ask them, oh, so you guys had something in the middle of the night, you did the Google search, you wound up on the website, what triggered you to call us? And it's like, oh, we read this, and this on your website, which made me feel comfortable in calling you as the next best candidate.
Exactly.
And whatnot. And so, like, it makes me think, it's like, okay, what does my website need to have on there that's available 24/7 so that they can consume it and then be able to make that decision to call us and be that company that comes out there in the middle of the night and fixes all the problems.
Yeah, you can think of it this way. If you think of it as a list of if you made a 2-column list, because here's the deal. You have to provide an experience that helps people understand that you're actually different. Not that you're just saying you're different, because most people especially in the B2B space, they all sound the same. If you go look for people with 24-hour drilling service, and you look at 10 websites, they will all say the same thing. Like, we're unbelievably responsive. Like we have a crew all over the world that can get to you no matter what time of day it is. Everybody says that. Your job is to show them that you're different.
Yes.
By actually delivering a differentiated experience. So on one side of a page, if you just think of a moment of inspiration, drill breaks down in the middle of the night. Okay, that's the situation. That's the moment of inspiration. Now I want you to write on the left side all of the things you do when somebody calls you or emails you or fills out that form online. After that happens, like, here's what you do. You send they fill out a form, then you send a confirmation email that says, we got this, we'll be back in touch with you within an hour. Then you actually, that person that gets assigned that lead calls that person from a cell phone at 2 a.m, and they have a conversation. And after the conversation, just map it out. Now in the second column, call that column what they do. And they is just the competition. Does the competition do exactly what you do when people fill out a form? Okay, well then you are not showing me you're different. All you have to do is take the column of they do, the column of we do. If there are any differences, circle those, because those are the big moments, right? And if there's no different, go through it and say, wait a second. How can I show we're different? If everybody else asked them to fill out a form, what could we do that is different than filling out a form? If you say, no, we have to have a form, okay, move on to the next step. And if it says, well, they send out a confirmation email, we send out a confirmation email, instead of sending out a confirmation email, what could you do? Could you text them immediately and say, we're going to call you within 3 minutes, like guaranteed? Okay, now that looks responsive. All of a sudden, that sounds different. It's showing you're different. So you want to build differentiated experiences from every moment of commitment on. And what happens is those things become the way you market. Like, I can tell you a really good story of Rackspace, another Texas company that's done this if you want. But do we have any questions?
Should we gotta break away. Loving this. Thanks for the nuggets, Andrew. From
no problem. High five. Who said
that? Maddie Speets.
Hey, Maddie. Sorry you're not here to get the high five. We'll give the high five to Eric.
Okay, so we've got a question from Eric. How do you deal with letting down or letting the customer down? Say that the pump isn't available and you want to maintain the relationship and trust. Ooh, good question.
Oh, this is a great question. Yeah, so the best build when the client is help them find the solution they need anyway.
Yes.
So basically, if you can't service them, you want to be the first call next time. So when I worked in the television business too, like your mom, and basically one of my jobs at one point was to get satellite trucks for a network, right? So like, let's say this back like Iraq war days. So like let's say they needed to get a satellite truck in the middle of Iraq to do a satellite uplink at midnight. We serviced satellite trucks. Like, we could get satellite trucks all over the world for any network. And when they called us, if they said, hey, we need a satellite truck in the middle of Iraq, and I said, well, ours is booked, I didn't say ours is booked and I can't help you, call someone else. I said, you know what? Ours is booked, but give me 5 minutes and I will find you a satellite truck in Iraq. And I would hang up the phone for no money. We're not going to get paid for this. And I'd call all my competitors and say, do you have a truck for NBC in the middle of Iraq? We need it in the next 12 hours. And if I found one, I'd say, okay, put that on hold for me. Like, I'll pay if they don't even end up paying it. I want that satellite truck. And I'm going to have the person from NBC call you within the next 5 minutes. I'd hang up the phone, call NBC back. They'd call that person, and sure enough, they'd get it. But you know the first call they'd make next time? They'd make it to me, because I did the legwork for them. And next time, I'll have that resource available for them.
And so then that puts you almost into that trusted advisor role.
You're trying to build trust. Look, I like to say, especially in the digital marketing world, that content builds relationships. Relationships are built on trust, and trust drives revenue. That's it. So all you've got to do is constantly build trust in those relationships, and that will always come back as revenue. Always.
Excellent. So yeah, we don't have any more questions. Where were we at before we took that question?
I was going to tell you about Rackspace and how.
Okay, yeah.
Do you know Rackspace?
Yes, I actually have a family friend kinfolk or whatever that works there. So yes.
Yeah, Rackspace. So if you guys don't know Rackspace, for those of you watching, Rackspace is one of the world's largest web hosting companies. So they started in the late 1990s. It was actually started by a guy from Houston who went to A-Leaf Hastings High School as well with me. His name's Richard Yu, and a couple other guys that went to Trinity College, which you guys know if you're in Texas. And essentially, they started a mom and pop shop, right? Like they were just, if you, in the old days, if you needed a website to be hosted, you would just call up and say, hey, I need a web server. And a bunch of geeks would get together and they build a box for you and connect it to the internet and say, hey, there's your box, like upload your stuff. And that's how it worked. And most of them were mom and pop shops because in the early days of the internet, people were worried that if your web server went down, you would need to drive over there and fix the web server. Okay, that's how long ago this is. Now, Richard had this vision where he said, wait a second, this is the internet. Your box doesn't need to be down the street. Why don't we set up an operation in San Antonio, Texas, and we'll invite people to have their web servers hosted here, even if they're in Asia. Like, doesn't matter. Your server. And here's what the problem was. People didn't feel comfortable with this. They were like, well, you're a big company. We can't see our web server. And he was like, you guys, come on. You don't need any of this. So what he had to do was build an experience that made people feel like they could trust this company. And so instead of building like a 24-hour-a-day customer support team, right? Like, you guys know what it is like. It's like if you have to call your phone company or you have to call your cable company to get something fixed, right? It's a nightmare. It's like you're transfer. You explain the problem over and over again. They're like, well, we can't fix it. Let me escalate this. And you're like, oh. Well, so he knew he couldn't provide that service because when you have a mom and pop shop doing it, it's like 4 people in an office, right? So when there's a problem with billing, whoever answers the phone is like, hey, we have a billing problem for Bob. Like, he said he got overcharged. Okay, we'll fix it. And they hang up the phone. So he started creating an experience. He started with a big, like, support team, right? Where you, like, same like Comcast. And he realized this isn't going to work. So what he did was he built small teams, 4-person teams, that would service every customer for life. So if you called, David, and you got this team like XYZ, and that you were a cold call, this is the first time you ever called, you were going to work with that team for the rest of your life at Rackspace. There were 4 people, account rep, there was a tech ninja, there was a junior tech person, and there was what was the last person? Oh, a salesperson. And that was your team forever. And they called it Fanatical Support. And Fanatical Support started as a service they offered, but then became the way they marketed the company. So Rackspace still markets themselves as providing Fanatical Support, and it's an unbelievable differentiator, and it allows them to charge more than everybody else in the industry because once you've experienced, you know how different Amazon Web Servers. So that's the Rackspace story. But anyway, the bottom line is you've got to provide a differentiated experience. Focus on the experience first.
Well, good. I really like that story because that's really interesting. I had no idea about the Rackspace guys that's what how they got started, or the fact that they were from Houston and A-Leaf. So
yeah, seriously, they're locals, man.
So I'm glad that we're having this kind of like you're in Boston, I'm here, but we're still keeping this very regional to the Texas area and making sense to anybody who's watching. So, and I should say this, guys, if anybody is watching and you're enjoying this, go ahead and share it. Don't be selfish. Let other people watch as well. I've never asked anybody on this show before to share anything, so this is the first time. But we're up to 41 viewers. So let's see if we can top out 50. It's not about the numbers; it's about the impact we're making.
Quality.
And
only send it to quality people.
Yeah.
Don't invite the scrubs. We don't want those people on.
Yeah, we don't need their comments. So I've got a question here from Mark Willerth. He's an insanely smart guy. Works over at H&P Technologies. And not like HP Computers, H&P, Heimlich, and I don't know how to say that, Heimlich and Payne, Hermlich and Payne, whatever it is. Anyways, drilling rigs. How do you tailor marketing for small target audiences, i.e. drilling in the Permian? has at most 350 customers, likely fewer true decision makers.
Yeah.
So what we're looking at is
Yeah.
a niche of a niche,
I love that.
and then we're trying to hit that decision maker
Yeah,
and
yeah.
being able to get to him. I know what his service is, and based on Brandscaping, I have my own idea as far as this, but I'll let you answer the question first.
No, come on. I'm turning the tables.
Okay.
You answer for me.
So what I'll say is in reading the Brandscaping book, there are a couple of points early on in the book that Andrew makes, which is about how sales of clownfish went to a astronomical level, actually to an environmentally dangerous level after the movie Nemo came out, and it resulted in clownfish sales, aquarium sales, aquarium pump sales, probably anything else that you could find at a either pet store or aquarium type of fish store, right? And so I know by being part of some of the things that Mark's a part of, which is wellbore accuracy and knowing exactly where the wellbore placement is at, which is important because for the industry, when two wells hit each other, we have catastrophic problems that are not bad for the person who owns the well, but it's bad for anybody in the oil and gas industry, because the last thing that anybody in the oil and gas business wants to see happen is any one of us end up on Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, ABC, NBC, CBS. We don't want to be on the 5 o'clock news. So my thinking is, as far as this, is a collaborative effort to come together to be able to produce content that educates the entire industry about the product and service that you're trying to be able to get across the table. Because I know, Mark, and what you're selling is that we've got a very niche audience to be able to sell to. But if all of the operators in Texas were more educated about your mission, then more people, that market size would increase, and you would go from a tiny little niche, that niche would widen out a little bit more. And then there would be more stakeholders and more people to buy into that idea if we were able to, put together something to where, not saying we have to produce a full animated feature-length film about a fish, but at least something the industry should put together a better educational content that is directed towards these independent oil and gas companies. So that's my idea. I'll throw it back over to you, Andrew. I know you could add on to that much better.
That was awesome. That was fantastic. What a great idea, man. I love that idea. It's a perfectly wonderful idea. Let me just quickly ask, what does Mark actually sell to people that are drilling in the Permian Basin? You know?
So their service of what they're selling is essentially wellbore a wellbore accuracy and wellbore placement service to be able to better determine exactly where the wellbore is placed. Well, they're drilling it anyway, but it's being able to understand to a higher degree of certainty exactly where it's at. Got it.
Okay, so I was just curious.
And Mark, if I'm wrong, please comment, because I know all the guys that are in that portion of the industry, and if you guys are, Neil Bergstrom, Chad Haddock, Jonathan Lightfoot, if you guys are all shaking your head right now, I did the best I
could. That's all right, man. You're forgiven. It's live. This is the way it works. You don't have time to prepare or edit it out. This is the way it goes. Okay, so here's what I think your idea is genius, and so that's building some content together that is targeted very specifically at these 350 people or fewer is a perfect approach. I call it fractal marketing in the book, getting targeted beyond targeted, because most people don't create content for people that are that targeted, and the more targeted and relevant you get, the better it is. So a couple of things just to keep in mind. One, you got to completely empathize with that audience. What do they wake up every day worried about? What is, and we're talking about the decision makers. So let's say it's only half of that 350. What is their chief concern? And you've got to really tap into that. If they wake up every day saying, "Man, I hope we don't, bore into another line and create a catastrophe, then you understand them perfectly right now, and you can use that empathy to really build something better. The second thing I would ask yourself is what are they buying before they buy you? Okay, so
Oh, yes.
like I consider it kind of the Amazon these customers also bought thing. You know, when you're on Amazon and you're looking at something at the bottom, it's like customers bought this right after they bought this, and you're like, whoa, I should get that too. Perfect. What you want to do, one of the best ways to create partnerships is to actually really keenly understand what do they purchase before they purchase you, or even after they purchase you. And you may have a better sense of what they purchase afterwards, but the key is if you can really understand that a lot of these people buy X, Y, and Z, right? They a lot of them with a high percentage. Then the first thing you should do is reach out to those companies, even their marketing teams, and say, hey, what can we do to help you get more business? And anytime somebody calls another business and says, I just want to help get more business, they're like, wow, let's talk. I don't know. How do we do that? And the goal is to come together to find a way to share insight and information with the customers and clients you both have that introduce each other's brands to those people, so that they now start thinking of you together as like peanut butter and jelly. So I don't just buy peanut butter. If I'm going to have a great sandwich, I got to buy peanut butter and jelly. Both ways, you're going to get a great relationship. So that's another way. And I think the final thing is, look, if it's that targeted of an audience, you've got to make sure that for every client you currently serve in that market, the experience you provide is unbelievably good. Because word will get around very quickly if the service you provide doesn't match their expectations or exceed it in a way that is truly differentiated. If there are other competitors in the marketplace that can provide the same kind of service, they all say they can, then what makes yours different than anyone else's is a really great place to start. So before you start even reaching out to the other customers, ensuring that you have low customer churn, that the experience you create is just unbelievably good, and the clients that do use you are unbelievably happy. They keep buying from you constantly. Then you've got a good start to setting up those pre-relationships and creating great content, like like David said, for Mark.
I think, one of my thoughts has always been is that the smaller the target audience, the more personal the touch of marketing, right?
Yeah.
So that if you look at it and you're like, okay, you're having a soft drink, you're having a drink. If I am selling a beverage to millions and millions and millions of people, then hiring a singular salesperson to go out and do that is foolish, right? But then if I look at the opposite end of that, to where I have 10 potential customers, then that needs to be the most personable sales experience possible, to where if you're using methods on the 10 million as the same as you would the 10, you're going to completely miss that approach, and you're leaving the door open for somebody else to write a handwritten letter.
Yep.
And the handwritten letter gets opened before the mass automatic email does.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think you're dead on, right? Can you provide an experience that feels like they are one elite client or prospect in a sea of a very small allotment, and that they know you trust them, and you can build trust with them in the right kinds of ways. A lot of people, especially now in the B2B world, are having very, very good success with personalized and customized video messages, like using brands like Vidyard or Wistia, or there are lots of little video production tools that you can use that aren't overly bearing, so that you can create personalized messages. And I want to point out, I'm on this big kick right now I call reverse personalization. So we think of personalized messages as like insert first name, like Bob, like comma, happy July 4th, like that's your personalization.
That's the HubSpot template email.
Exactly, it's the HubSpot template emails. And I think there's a huge opportunity for us to flip it on its head. In fact, if you want to build trust in a B2B world, reverse personalization, which means personalizing your experience for the customer, makes a huge difference. So take this for example. if if you if you make a doctor's appointment and instead of the doctor asking you to fill out a big old long form as the first step, if the doctor sent you a little video that said, "Hey, I'm Dr. So and so. I'm so excited you made an appointment with us, and I can't wait to see you. Let me give you a little bit of my background and the things that I'm concerned about or look for when I have an appointment." You're introducing the doctor to me before I've ever had a chance to meet him, and I'm building trust before he walks in the door. And I know that doctor is going to be hurried and have a very different demeanor when I get there, but you can raise anticipation and start building a relationship using video that's more about introducing you to them instead of the other way around. If you've ever used the Domino's order tracker, by the way, has anyone done that?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yeah. If you've done that, they use reverse personalization. Like, it'll say, "Vanessa has just put my pizza in the oven." Like, look, 15 years ago, I didn't care who put my pizza in the oven. I didn't know their name, and it didn't matter to me. But all of a sudden, I'm like, "Vanessa? Like, who's Vanessa? Like, this is great. Like, there's a person named Vanessa making my pizza." And here's the thing. I feel differently about the pizza and the experience because there's a person that they introduced me to. So we need to think more like that when it comes to high-end B2B sales. That's high touch and relationship driven. Using video and a personalized approach isn't just about you doing the research on them and showing them that you know them. It's also about saying, "Hey, look, let's get to know each other. Let me start, basically, and let me introduce you to my team, like, or my who would be working on your account." Like, those kinds of things make a huge difference. Man, sorry, that was a rant about reverse personalization.
No, it's great because it makes me think about, as far as some of the stuff that I've been having to deal with personally with my my videos and the things that I've put out there as far as my marketing is that, a lot of people want to be able to make a viral video. They want to make a video that hits everybody. But if you, like Mark said, if your niche is 350 people, that means if you get 700 views, you've doubled up the industry already.
Exactly.
So like you've captured 200% of the audience. So to make a personalized video and then somebody in the head office goes, "Well, how many views did it get?" And you're like, 700. And they're like, "Oh, well, that was a waste of time." And it's like, actually, no, that did better than, any other video ever out there. Like this, and so that's where it's been for me, is that I've had to look at the view count on some of my stuff, and I'm like, man, I'd really like to get to 1,000.
It's so depressing, right?
But for me, if I get to 1,000, then I think, how many people are there actually in our industry, in my directional drilling MWD industry? Maybe 8,000 worldwide.
Yeah, right.
If that, I think that's a grossly overestimated number. I don't even think it's that many. I mean, it might be 5,000 at most. And that's considered people that are retired and people that are coming into the industry. So like the whole thing. So 1,000 views, or 1,000 unique views, I should say, not just 1,000 views, could be, that could be 20% of the whole industry. I mean, that's huge.
That's huge.
And so making those videos or that content and understanding that you're not trying to compete with Instagram models or puppy kitten videos or videos of baby goats jumping on each other, that you're trying to compete in a very small space, and all you have to do is make a very specific video for a very specific audience. Even in that small, you could make a specific video for specific regions and say, this video we're making for West Texas independent operators. This video's for East Texas Haynesville operators, or South Texas, or guys in Oklahoma, Alaska.
Perfect. That's perfect. Yeah, that approach will build a better relationship, because what people want to see is that you understand me. And if you're like, "Hey, if you drill anywhere in the world," they're like, "Well, yeah." But if you said, "Hey, are you drilling out in Waco?" and they're like, "That's me." Yeah, like, you're talking to me. Like, okay, that stuff helps. The other thing I was just going to add quickly is your point about not chasing views and worrying about the quality of the audience instead of the quantity of the audience is so important in the B2B world. There's a show I work with for the University of Virginia, which has a a whole economic development team. Sorry, not University of Virginia. They would punch me right now. I wish I could edit that out. It's Virginia Tech. Oh my gosh, I'm really sorry, guys.
It wasn't just completely another university. It was the rival university.
I know. Sorry. Okay. Back up. So Virginia Tech has a show that they do.
Sorry, my mom just ended up saying when we put this on YouTube and or the podcast, we'll edit that part. We'll edit that part out.
Just delete the audio. Put beep. But anyway, Virginia Tech has this show that they do. I think they do 13 episodes a year, and it's only for mayors in towns of less than, I think, 25,000 people, based in the coal mine mountains of Virginia and West Virginia. That is less than 300 people, less than. And every time they do these episodes, they email it to every one of the mayors, and they end up with 450, 550 direct link views from the email, which means either the mayor themselves is watching every episode, or the mayor is watching it more than once, or the mayor is forwarding it to other people in the office saying, you should watch this episode. And that is powerful. So, I understand, and I have talked to them about it. They always would love to see 10,000 views on one of their episodes because they put a lot of work into the show called Save Our Towns, which you can find on YouTube. And it's awesome. It's really well done. But, they don't need it. All they need is 350 mayors to watch every episode to make a big impact in their business as a university and the economic development of their community. So don't worry about quantity, worry about quality.
Excellent. I want to give a quick shout out. We've got actually one of my neighbors who lives just down the street, Zach Zeller, is watching this show.
What's up, Zach?
Hey, Zach, thanks for watching, man. I appreciate it. Feel free to throw out some questions or forward this on to you, because he's got a sales team of like a gazillion people. Send this out to all your sales guys to start watching. So one of the things that you mentioned in there as far as, being able to engage with the client and stuff. And so one of the other guys that we're going to have on the show earlier this week, he'll be on next Friday, Keenan, who wrote a book called Gap Selling. And one of the things he talks about in his book is being able to ask the right questions. And you kind of hinted on this in talking about it, which is like, are you drilling in Waco? Which is essentially saying, like, you're being able to engage with them because you understand them, you know their problem. And so one of the things he talks about is ask a question that validates who you are. So instead of in the very beginning saying, we're a Fortune 500 company, we're publicly traded, we are this, we talk about me, you say, I understand you drill in Waco, Texas. If you're drilling in Waco, then you're probably dealing with these kinds of problems, which means if you're dealing with these kinds of problems, it means you're dealing with these kinds of service companies, and you're probably facing these kinds of issues, and these are the problems we solve, right? So automatically, in just asking those kinds of questions, being able to say, do you have this issue because you drill in Waco because of this, automatically whoever's listening to that question goes, wow, this person knows my area, understands who I am, and understands my problems. I can probably trust that they know what they're talking about. And then that builds the trust to be able to continue going forward. So that's a great way to be able to thinking about your content, not just your cold emails or your cold calls, but also, if you think about it, video content is a cold approach.
It certainly is. Look, I think what's really important is your content has to speak to someone instead of everyone, right? So, like, you can create 40 videos for 40 different types of people, and they will work better than the one video that's supposed to get all 40 people. And that goes for not just video, but emails or marketing campaigns of any kind, marketing material of any kind. And the other thing that you just made me think of is it's something I call inverting your pitch. Most salespeople and even marketers, actually, when they're presenting the company that they work for or the products and services they deliver, they start backwards. And the goal of getting people interested in your company isn't to start with, this is who we are, this is who I am, this is what we do, this is who we service, because I'm already tuned out. I don't care, right? The goal is to get the people on the other end wanting to ask those questions to build trust. So my approach, even when I'm speaking around the world, I don't tell people who I am. Most people, when they start a presentation, a lot of people will say like, hey, I'm Andrew Davis. I've worked in marketing for a long time. I own my own agency. I used to work with the Muppets. That's how they start. When I do a workshop, if it's a 3 or 6 hour long workshop, I never introduce myself. And usually what happens is after the first 90 minutes, we take a break, right? And I come back from the break and I say, does anyone have any questions? The first question, 99% of the time, is someone going, hey, wait a second. Can you tell us a little bit about you? Like, how did you get here? Why do you know this stuff? That's when I know they care about who I am and what services I could offer, what products I can deliver, my experience, and why they should trust me with this information. And salespeople, marketing people, we should be doing the same. Think of your pitch the other way around. Start with, hey, I understand you. Let's talk, and let me keep you chasing some questions as we discuss this to pique your curiosity. And if you never ask, who are you, or who have you worked with, or what services do you provide, or how much do you cost, they are not interested. Just end the meeting. You don't even have to oversell because they don't care. But if they finally say, man, this has been really fun, like you seem to know the industry, like, you know, how long have you been in the business? That's when you can say, haha, let me tell you about myself. That'll make a huge difference in the trust building in your relationship with clients and customers.
And so much great knowledge today. Like, I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch this video. Even though I'm a part of it, I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch it because I'm always thinking like, all right, is this thing broken, or is this thing like, are the lights, you know, like this is exactly like, I don't know if anybody's watched like the episode with Fred Dupriest. I had to go back and watch that one several times just because it was like, there was so much knowledge in that episode that
no
it was.
Kidding.
I was, you know, trying to find questions, and he's answering questions, and I'm like, I kind of want to engage in this. I want to be an audience member more so. I have to take a quick technical break here because my phone died, which just shame on me. So if
I have
there
mine
are
open.
any questions coming up,
let's see.
Perhaps to edit
Great
it out.
conversation from Shakir.
Okay. Mark Anderson's watching. We still have to. Okay, guys. Like I said, feel free to hit the little button, share it with anybody else that's out there. We will definitely going to keep this going. So one of the things that I had kind of the idea and the thought earlier, and we got sidetracked into a couple of other things, but was talking about you know, what inspired you to ... I know that this is part of. You know, kind of the content that you put out there, and as far as the secret question, kind of giving it away for one of your YouTube videos there.
That's all right.
But I know a lot of these sales guys, they're getting meetings, and they're not the one, like, it wasn't because the client called them in, it was because they said, hey, can I come in and present to you?
Right.
And so it would be hard to be able to use that question to say, like, what inspired you to allow me to come in, and it might be, well, I want you to stop calling me so much, so I figured I'd give you an opportunity to come in.
You hounded me so much that I had to take this meeting.
So my thought was, and I want to get your feedback on this, is to be able to say, because in our industry, there's a lot of entrenched long-term relationships. Yeah. So then for me, the question becomes like, what inspired you to pick the last guy? What inspired you to move off of somebody else and onto them? And so then they are giving you the keys to success as far as how to be able to hopefully replicate that process or be that company and say, okay, I may not be the company right now, but if this happens again in the future, I want to be your prime brand.
Yeah. That's perfect.
So I want to get your feedback and thoughts on that.
Thinking. Yeah, I love the way you're thinking. Let me tackle two things quickly, and then I gotta go soon, actually. But
no,
it's
we're having too much fun.
Yeah, we are. But let me just do these two things here quickly. So there's two important things I want to tackle. One, if you're doing outbound sales and you finally get a meeting with someone, they finally say, yeah, okay, Drew, I'll take this meeting. I'll give you a half an hour next Wednesday. And you're like, yes. Here's the thing. We've already talked about experiences, but I want you to remember that that's a moment of commitment. They are trading their time, that half hour, for some information or insight. And you've got to provide a great experience. You cannot just be another sales call. Like, if it's going to be another sales call, you are not going to leave an impression that makes them feel like this is a great experience. So here's what I want you to do. Make a list of all the things that other people do when they confirm a meeting. Okay, they send an email with a confirmation. They send an appointment confirmation. Then maybe the day before they email and say, are we still on for tomorrow at noon? Like, yeah, great. Maybe they don't because they're scared they're going to not, say, no, we're not. I have to change the appointment. Either way, there's very few things most people do. You need to build a better experience. How can you raise anticipation for that meeting? Because most people walk into a meeting and they're dreading the meeting, especially if it's sales. They're like, I know I'm going to get pitched to. It's going to be half hour long. Like, oh, I've got a million other things I can do. However, if you can raise their anticipation, get them curious about what you're going to do in that meeting or what you're going to talk about, they will walk in and be like, oh my gosh, this is great. Like when I used to pitch TV shows, we were pitching a television show that was all about cars. If anybody remembers Cannonball Run. Before meetings with agencies and networks, we would send these little Matchbox cars in with all this mysterious packaging around it to some of the biggest agents in the world. And when we showed up for those meetings, they would be like, oh my gosh, I've been waiting 3 weeks to find out what this freaking Matchbox car is about. I cannot wait for this meeting. I'm so glad you guys are here. Come in. And you've got, before we talk about anything else, what is the deal with this little car? That's changing the expectation, raising anticipation, and getting people excited for a meeting. And it'll make all the difference in the experience you provide. The second thing I would just say quickly is when you're in those meetings, asking great questions like what inspired you to hire the company you currently hire or you hired in the past to do what we do is a great question to ask. But you have to remember that what you're trying to create in that meeting is a new moment of inspiration. So you want them in that meeting to realize, man, I should go on a journey I never expected before taking this meeting. And maybe it should end with you because they've committed to some time with you. What you want to do is identify what moment can you create in that meeting where they go, man, maybe I've hired the wrong company. Maybe I should be working with you. I can't believe we didn't put it out to bid or invite you in, or what can we do to change this right now? So look for a moment in that meeting where you can create an instant where that person is like, wow, this is blowing me away. I guess you're right. I got to make a change. And you're going to have a much better meeting all around.
Wow. So much knowledge there. I mean, tons of stuff there to be able to take away. You got to go pretty quick, don't you?
Yeah, I got to go in like a couple minutes.
Oh, okay. All right. So I know.
More question?
I have to leave just a question. Have you ever faced a situation when a customer kicked you out of the office? How do you back later to recover the relationship, no matter what were the reasons, but if it happens? So you've been kicked out. How do you get back in?
Okay, if you're getting kicked, this is a good question. First of all, if you're getting kicked out, I can tell you already, your meetings are too long. That's the key. Ooh. So when we were running an agency, Jim Costco and I, we would just focus on 25-minute meetings. Literally, if someone said, well, I think we need an hour, we'll say, we can't do an hour. We can only do 25 minutes. Our goal was to end the meeting at the point at which they were about the product they're offering. Not anymore. So even if they said, oh, I'm so excited about this, let's talk about some of the details, we would go, oh, man, I would love to talk about the details right now, but we have to run. Here's what we'll do. We'll get back to the office this afternoon after the next 2 meetings. I'll give you all, we'll go up the details and send you a proposal. And then it'll be like, you're leaving right now? And we're like, yeah, we're busy people, gotta go. And they're like, wow, I really want to work with these people. Now, it sounds weird, but if you're getting kicked out, shorten your meetings, leave before they have a chance to do it. And if you have been kicked out, you're going to have to start from the very beginning, providing an experience that they believe will build a new kind of trust where you're not going to waste their time or their energy on things that don't matter to them or they perceive to be a waste of their time.
Andrew Davis, thank you so much for being here.
No
Guys,
problem,
there's
man.
A book coming out. What is the book going to be called?
The book is called The Loyalty Loop. It's all about the micro moments. Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Okay, so the book coming out is going to be Loyalty Loop. There's already Brandscaping and Town Inc. Great information. I highly recommend everybody go actually get on his YouTube, go subscribe, and watch. What is it labeled, the best keynote of all time? Or
probably something like that, or hilarious keynote, or Meatloaf.
You can yes, the Meatloaf one. So it'll teach you all about how ClickFunnels do not work in today's day and time. It's a hilarious, watching that, I was just like, when is this going to end? Because I didn't want it to end, but I was just like, this just keeps going. But I was like, I'm ADD, and I was like, this is like the story of my life. It's something me and my girlfriend always do. We always go, how did we get to this point in the conversation? And then we try to like
track it back,
like start all the way back at the beginning, and then then we talked about this that led to this, then led to this, and a 9-hour car ride later, we're like, wow, look at all the different journeys we had. So, guys, Andrew Davis is an absolute phenomenal talent. There's lots of information. I highly recommend you guys follow him on LinkedIn, follow him on Instagram, Facebook, any of the other social media channels.
Hey, my brother-in-law was watching. He's in Houston. What's up, Luis?
Oh, excellent. So thank you so much for coming onto the show. If anybody wants to reach out to him on the social media channels,
I'm there.
You're not going to hurt your brain at all. If anything, it's going to help you change the way the industry is. Drew, any last words that you wanted to be able to share with the audience?
No, man. Really, thank you so much. And I really love what you're doing on LinkedIn. Keep it up.
This is all about brandscaping. It's about putting two brands together to be able to build something better than what you could yourself. And thanks everybody for watching today. Be sure to hit the little button, comment some more, let us know where you're watching from. We'll give some more shout outs potentially here or in the next episode. And if you want to be on the show, reach out to me. Let me know. More than happy to be able to have some new people on. Next week, we've got Robert Trainer, CEO of Gyro Data, and Keenan, author of Gap Selling. We're also going to be able to try to get some SPE people. We've also got the week after that David Reed, Chief Marketing Officer at NOV. The week after that George King, distinguished engineer. He's written over 90 technical papers about completion. So we're going to be talking about how drilling and completions affect each other. And then the week after that, Regular Joe CEO Eric Waller, the CEO of MD America. Great guy. Andrew, thank you so much for being on the show. And for everybody else out there watching, as always, know your industry.
Bye.
Bye, guys. And the Gibson reports logo. Oh, that's right.